Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm going to be giving my review. I'm not going to lie, it's going to contain some spoilers, so, I mean, if you don't want to be spoiled, then skip off this video right now. But before I do so, I do want to let you know that channel memberships are open for $4.99 a month. You get member shoutouts, you get member-only live chats, you get member-requested reviews, and you also get emojis and badges as a little perk as well, and probably more perks to come in the future. Now, here's the thing about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. This movie's been like a decade in the making. Obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the biggest video game franchises of all time. I mean, at least from merchandise alone, it is probably the biggest. Well, then again, actually, no, Pokemon probably might beat it. And if you've been watching my channel recently, you would see that I have not really been excited for this movie one bit. Every time I see one of these trailers, it looks like actual garbage. It looks cheap. It looks like it has like no money behind it at all. And yeah, I was right. This movie is really not good, like, at all. Josh Hutcherson is solid. He's trying. I mean, obviously, he's not really given the best dialogue, but that's kind of all I have, not gonna lie. This movie fails in so many regards in being an adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's, a movie that the average moviegoer can enjoy, just overall just being a horror movie in general. And to anyone saying, well, you're just a hater, this is for the Five Nights at Freddy's fans, guess what? I think Five Nights at Freddy's is cool. Like, I think Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, that VR game, oh my god, like, that's like genius. Like, that's like a genius level kind of game. Like, there's like some great scares, and the story overall is actually pretty good. It's like that, yeah, like that's probably about the peak of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a legitimately great horror game. Don't tell me that this movie is just for the fans, and plus I just feel like it's also just a bad argument in general, because it's like, you're just trying to gatekeep a movie at that point. I remember when people were trying to say the Jurassic World Dominion was for the fans, and I'm like, Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. Jurassic World Dominion is garbage. Like, let me just talk about some of the things that I just really feel like just did not work in this film. One, let's just start with the animatronics. The animatronics are shot in a way that's just like breaking all the rules of horror. Like, Steven Spielberg, when he directed Jaws, made it a point to not show the shark a whole lot. I mean, by the end of the film he did, but throughout most of the film, he kept the shark hidden because what you don't see is scarier than what you do see. That's why a lot of people are afraid of the dark, or like why, you know, kids are afraid of the monster in the closet, because they don't know what it could look like. Maybe it is like a monster with like 8 arms and, you know, yellow eyes or whatever. Or maybe it's just a really creepy person in there. Who knows? But the fear of the unknown is our most primal of instincts when it comes to fear. I mean, that's also why I feel like Hereditary works so well. Hereditary is a great example of a movie that keeps all of the scares hidden in the shadows. Like, to the point where, like, you don't know what you're exactly looking at times. So you gotta have to take a double take and just go, am I looking at this correctly? But at the same time, because you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be afraid of, again, that primal instinct just snaps in your head and you start to panic. But with Five Nights at Freddy's, they shoot the animatronics like just directly. You see them and they're just like standing there, and it's like, it's not really scary. It feels like they just wanted to show off these animatronics because they probably cost a lot of money, and it's like, well, we're getting our bang for our buck, but it's not really serving the story well. It's not serving the filmmaking at all. It's just going, hey, look, it's the animatronics that you remember from the game. And speaking of fan service, once again, this is another example. Just like Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, just like Jurassic World Dominion, just like the Super Mario Brothers movie, it's like The Flash. All it is just constant references that get in the way of the story. Like, there's a cameo from Matt Pat, and look, I love Matt Pat. Like, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, but my god, the dialogue they're giving him is just absolute cringe. He literally says, That's just a theory. I wanted to punch a wall or something when I heard that. It's like, you cannot have thought that was actually a good line. In the context of the scene, no one would say that. There is a core fan base for everything, but just because they are a core fan base for like a game or, you know, a cartoon or whatever, that doesn't mean they're going to automatically see the movie. You need to make a movie in a way that, sure, like the fans can enjoy, but also make it make sense and accessible for everyone. Those are the best kinds of adaptations. I have never read Lord of the Rings. Like I don't really read the books. I don't like know a whole lot about the lore, but guess what? The Lord of the Rings movies that Peter Jackson directed, they were made in a way that someone like me, who had never read Lord of the Rings, could easily watch and find them to be fantastic films, or even comic books. Like, weirdly enough, even though I talk about comic book movies a lot, I don't really care about reading the comics. Like, I don't really care about reading comics. Yet, I will still tell you The Dark Knight is one of the greatest films ever made. Even a lot of the acting is just so awkward and weird. Like, there's this one ant character, and I don't know what she's trying to do with her performance. She's always like this. She's always very overdramatic. Even, I really hate saying this. What the hell were they doing to Matthew Lillard, man? Like, he plays this character so, like, obviously evil, where it's like, oh, well, you might like this one job. The movie does such a bad job at trying to set up that he's William Afton. Like, because here's the thing, like, again, spoilers, he shows up in the beginning of the movie and doesn't appear for the longest time, despite the fact that Matthew Lillard is a pretty well-known name. Now, why do I mention this? Because this movie probably has one of the worst plot twists I've ever seen in my life. And that is, of course, Matthew Lillard, is playing this one guy. It turns out he's William Afton. Now, I know a lot of people were saying, whoa, but he was already confirmed to be William Afton. Yes, but like, the movie itself tries to paint this as if it were a plot twist. And the sad thing is, even if you didn't already know that this guy would become William Afton, the movie does such a poor job with this plot twist where it's like, you would figure it out so quickly. Because it's like, wow, that Matthew Lillard guy, I heard he was in this movie, and he was in the first part of this movie, and he hasn't showed up for a while. Oh wait, they mentioned this guy named William Afton? Huh. And the moment that William Afton talks in this little robot suit, his voice is distorted. It's literally a Scooby-Doo episode. Ironic considering it's Matthew Lillard. It's like, huh? Let's see who this guy really is. I mean, obviously they don't take off his mask. He's the one who takes off the mask, but it's like, really? Like, why did they play this off as a plot twist? Anyone with a brain cell would say, oh, wait, there's a new guy that's in the whole mix called William Afton? Well, I'm pretty sure it must be that one guy we saw in the beginning because, Villains 101. In my opinion, I feel like it would have been a lot better if you already made the audience aware on purpose that he was William Afton. Like, cut back to him a few times, see stuff from his point of view, at least in terms of the story and stuff, and see what he's doing, instead of trying to make this a mystery. Because this is quite possibly one of the worst mysteries I've ever seen in a horror movie. And again, yes, I already know that this guy is supposed to be William Afton, but I already know that people who don't know Five Nights at Freddy's would quickly figure it out because, the big name has not appeared in this movie since the beginning. And again, he already acts so weird where he's like, oh, well, there's this job I found, Mike. So, you have to do a few of these things. And he already knows a lot about this Five Nights at Freddy's place. So it's like, all right, well, they're clearly setting him up as a bad guy later. Oh, God, I know I've already been beating a dead horse with this, but I'm sorry. This movie just sucks. It's not even so bad it's funny. There's a couple of parts where it's so bad it's funny. I mean, especially when you actually see, Matthew Lillard as evil William Afton. Oh, and by the way, he also says, I always come back. And it's just like, you always come, this is the first time you've come back. So, yeah, this movie is not made for Five Nights at Freddy's fans because this movie just shamelessly throws in so much meaningless fan service. It's not for the average moviegoer because the mystery they try to have here is one that's portrayed so badly that anyone could figure it out. It breaks so many of the rules of horror, and this just proves that just because you can make a successful series of horror games doesn't mean that's going to translate well to filmmaking. I give Five Nights at Freddy's 1 star. But now I pass the question off to you. Have you seen Five Nights at Freddy's? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, Markiplier might never talk about the Bite of 87 ever again.
Was that...